For an Arnold Palmer blade or a classic John Reuter, you can find your center, be a straight shooter. Train yourself to respect the 3-footer. Bring out your Scotty or that newfangled lab. Your time rolling putts will surely be fab. Putt, 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 it's just like it seems.
You can drift away and chill in a dream.
Putt with your bros, go soak up the sun. Free vitamin D is good for everyone. I'm just spitting facts, putting is fun.
Yes, it is, folks.
I couldn't help myself.
Your favorite putting podcast. Brian Manzella coming to you from New Orleans.
John Ortega coming from Costa Mesa, California.
That's the
Toasty,
toasty. A lot
toasty.
more, putting is more fun in Costa Mesa because it's only 85. It's 95 here. So
I think it's less than that today. It's super nice.
We're thrilled to be with you folks in episode 5 of our little fun in the sun with a putter in our hand and a ball going in the hole. So back to a couple things we've done so far, and one we haven't. We're going to do today. We did the elements of putting, right? The putter, right? The golfer, the putter that you putt with, newfangled lab or a John Reuter Jr. bullseye, the ball. Okay, the ball, the green, and the hole. We talked about different kinds of grasses, but we haven't talked about the rest of it. So the first question I have for you, Mr. Ortega, is do you think that the ball makes that much of a difference if you're just putting?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I have my suspicions, but I would like you to go on and elaborate.
Okay, different balls will come off the putter with different speeds. So I think Bill Schmidl, putting specialist Schmidl from
the guy with the Schmidl stick.
Schmidl stick, yeah, that guy. Yeah, so he did tests with.
What is the stick? What is it? What is the stick?
It's basically like an alpha, beta, gamma thing in a way.
Okay.
It has like a side to side thing with the ball sticking up like in the air. And so if you rotate the club too much, you'll see that the ball will go out of line with the shaft. Or I use it more so for how long somebody takes the club back and through. And it's right there in their peripheral vision, so they can see if they go short, back, long through, at least
so
after.
No, that's great. So he's done a little research on it.
Yes.
On the
whole. So when he hit hard balls, they came off with the same club speed and same centered hit, a little bit faster. So softer balls come out slower. Like if you get old tour balladas, I would imagine. I think he did that actually in a study too. They came out slower. Let's say the top flight balls came out with a little bit more heat. So yes, it makes a difference for sure. Now, if you're going to compare, let's say a Pro V1X and a TP5X, maybe not so much. Haven't gone that deep in the weeds, but definitely it makes a difference.
Okay, so what about the dimple thing that Bryson always talked about? Like if you got a dimple and it's not quite like one dimple is right behind the hit, if it's a little off and you catch a corner, and we're talking about obviously on a very slow hit on a short putt, but who wants to miss a 2-footer? And you have to respect your 3-footers. So do you think that the dimple deflection thing is real?
I'm still a little bit needing to be convinced of that personally. I know Mike Shy, his childhood coach, he was super convinced about it. I don't know that you could arrange the ball position a ball behind the coin so you could make it just perfect. I don't know that you can be that precise. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I can't say whether there is or isn't.
But the one thing for sure is that the dimple patterns are different, and with different balls, and if you took let's say the Royal +6, which then was sort of spoofed by the Callaway Rule 35, right? It was kind of a hexagon dimple. They were closer together. There was less non-dimple area. Then if you go back to the old balls, right? I remember when there was a period of time, and somebody from Titleist would probably disagree, but I'm telling you, there was a period of time where the Hogan 100 was the number one ball on tour. Maybe not the whole tour, maybe just the top 50 money. It was something, that ball. And it had a lot of surface space because it was the old dimple pattern, right? The 336 dimple pattern. So I don't know. I'll tell you this. I rather clicky. That I don't like. If I was getting a lab putter, I would definitely get one that has the steel part on it. I don't like the dead sound. Although I putted my best with an A blade, which wasn't real clicky. So it's just one of those things where I think people think the ball has no effect. No.
Oh,
chance.
sure it does. Sure it does. But the new ping putter, the one with what do you call it? The Freddie Haas sight system with the dot.
Yeah,
in
well,
front of the line?
the little dot. Yeah, so that the ping came up with a focus thing where they, instead of having a line that went all the way across like several other putters that they've done over the last few years, the line stopped a little bit before the face, and then there was like a little blank area, and they have a dot there, and the dot did something for your focus. Well, Freddie Haas, who is from New Orleans, the best golfer ever from New Orleans, 5 tour tournament wins and all that stuff. We've talked about it before. I played a lot of golf with Freddie. His son married Michael Finney's sister, for all of that stuff, right? So he's a known quantity in the Brian Manzella story. His putters, which you can still buy on eBay, the later models, late 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, had a little circle about, let's say, maybe not quite as big as a quarter, nickel-sized circle, white, depressed, like a little cutout, and then like almost a sticker in there. And then, I think it was a sticker, and at the very front of it, a dot exactly like the ping, right? So I put those two next to each other in the next post to kind of, not everything old is new again or what. I think there's some actually new stuff in the world. But there's something about that dot.
Working for Wyndham, that's for sure.
I mean, I don't know how you can make any more putts that he's made in the last couple of tournaments. Okay, so we established that the ball makes somewhat of a difference, or a pretty good difference, and we've talked about the grass. Poe versus bent versus Bermuda versus whatever. But what about green reading? This topic, from a real detailed point of view, was just not talked about, John, when we were young college players. Not talked about. It was a black art, right? And now it's a lot less than a black art, because there's been several books. About when did that vector putting book come out?
Now you're testing me. I'm going to say it's before 2000 for sure. I think you have to look for the copyright, but I think it was sometime late 80s, early 90s. I don't know that for sure, so I'm not going to say that with any kind of definitive.
When did the book Vector Putting get published? No, that's bad English. But we see how fast in real time our friends at X with Grok can do that. 1984, the book is Vector Putting, The Art and Science of Reading Greens and Computing Break by H.A. Templeton,
I was pretty
retired
close.
Air Force colonel.
Yeah.
It was published by Vector Golf, so they self-published in Fort Worth, Texas. This is a well-known and quite technical golf green reading method that's still... So this guy comes up with Vector. They're available on eBay. Sometimes they hit you for a big number. Sometimes you can get lucky. But it was sort of the forerunner, right, of all the modern green reading.
In fact, it had something called the Aimpoint.
Really?
So, yeah. So you would have the zero break line, which is the fall line, like skiers know what fall lines are.
Yep.
And so you have a zero break line, and then you'd figure out how many feet you were from the hole.
So just for the folks, we always, the rest of the folks at Funnel always say, explain. Okay, so the fall line would be, please correct me, John, if I'm wrong, is that you would take a ball and you would, let's just say, put it on the green and perfectly send it forward, like with a machine or something, perfect square hit, and it would not break, but it was downhill.
Right. It's a zero
break downhill putt.
Yeah. So you find out where the zero break is, either whether it's uphill or downhill, or the net zero. Because sometimes you're not going to be able to find any 0-0, but you kind of find the net zero. But most of the time you can. All right. So you find one of those two, especially the 0, and you figure out how far you are from the hole. Now, most of the time I've been told that people that do the vector, you could either do the 3-foot strides, which would give you like a yard, and then you do the math, or because I'm not particularly tall, so I don't have long legs, I can do a military step, which is 2 steps equals 5 feet. So it's like, I think it's like a 36, not a 36 inch, it's a 30 inch step. So you don't have to go 36. So 30 twice is 60. Divide that by 12. That's 5 feet, right? So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, right? So you figure out how far you are, and then you determine the slope or the percentage of slope on the 0, not like from you A to B. That's where Aimpoint and vector differ. So you find like the 0 break line. You figure out what the fall is, like what the percentage of slope is. Let's say if it's 2%, that's where the Mike Shy, the guy who taught me how to do it, says just start everybody at 2%. It's really easy to do. So you figure out, let's say you're 10 feet away, and the 0 break has a 2% slope. You would plot a point up the 0 break line, an inch per foot that you are away from the hole. So 10 feet, you go 10 inches up the 0 break, and you putt toward that. It's called the aim point. So if you're only a little bit off the 0, that 10-inch plotted point, the aim point, is like right edge. So if you go 90 degrees to the 0 break line, then you're going to be punting at 10 inches from the center of the hole. And that's the general formula. Now, as you extend outward, or the percentage of slope goes up, it extends outward, and you kind of have like the sliding scale. So for instance, if you were on a 4% and you were 10 feet away, it would be 20 inches, right? But generally it's going to be a little bit more than that, 21 or 22. So there are books out there.
Let me try to break that down for everybody.
Okay.
Okay. So you've got a putt. You figured out where straight uphill or downhill is. So you know that line goes through the hole, right? Straight uphill. It goes through the hole. It's still uphill on the other side. It's uphill to you. Downhill, still downhill on the other side. So you have this long line. So 2% slope, it would be for newbie golfers. You can definitely see it. It's tilted a little bit, and you can feel it in your feet. The first obvious slope. It's not like 1% is a little subtle. 2, you got it, right? Okay.
Sure.
So now,
so Mike says whenever you have a slope that you can see, start at 2.
Okay. So now I've got this line drawn through the hole on the 0 break. Okay. But I'm not on it, because I was on it. I don't need to read nothing. Just knock that sucker in, right? Hard enough, soft enough, whatever. But I'm to the side of it. So let's say, just imagine, folks, a 36-inch, yardstick you buy from Home Depot, right? You put it in the hole straight, let's say straight uphill, and then you go 36 inches like a T-square off of that, so then you put a ball there. So now on a 2% slope with 36, from the hole and 36 sideways, where on this 36 inches am I aiming?
You're talking about a 2% slope at 10 feet?
No. At 36 inches and 36 inches to the side.
If you were playing 36, like the aim point 36 inches up the slope, it would be 36 feet from the hole. So you plot the point. I don't think I understand your question.
I did a bad job. I'm trying to help everybody who's just listening. So
okay,
first time I've heard it too, right? This way. Okay, so I go get a yardstick at Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware.
Okay.
I put it in the hole, and it's a straight downhill putt. Let's just make it a straight downhill putt. And then I'm going to take, I'm put a tee in the ground right there. Straight downhill putt, 36 inches. Now I'm going to take the same stick, and I'm going to go off at a 90-degree angle, 36 inches. So I don't know how far that makes me from the hole, but a little bit further than 36 inches, right? I didn't go in a circle. I just went in a T-square. So I've got this like 40-inch putt. And I know where the fall line is. The ball is going to go straight down that hill if I was where I put that tee in the ground. So I'm 40 inches from the hole, let's say, going back toward that imaginary line where that yardstick was. How many inches up from that do I have to aim?
So if you're 40 inches, that's basically a little bit more than 3 feet, right?
Yeah, 3.5 feet or so, right?
Right. So you would aim. So you aim at the calculation is from the center of the hole. So you'd
Okay.
basically be about four inches up the hill. So it'd be about 2 inches outside the hole. Now, if it's downhill, if you're
Yep.
downhill, you give it a little bit more because the ball is going to be rolling more slowly. And if it's really fast downhill, you might even go up to 6 or 8 inches. So it kind of just depends. But the way I like to explain it to people and then let them kind of fiddle with it is you get 90 degrees to the zero break line, however far you're going to go. And let's say you have like the elevated string. You remember that? The little 2 barbecue skewers or, chopsticks with the
again,
string or whatever.
For the folks at home and in the car and or whatever, right? Get a string and take a fork, right? Everybody knows what a fork is, right? Stick the fork in the ground and tie the string to the top of the fork, and then go out
Another fork.
feet, put another fork and tie it. So now you have a string on that line. That's the zero break line. And if a ball rolls, underneath it, it doesn't come near the string. Okay, John? Go ahead.
Okay. So now you have, let's say you have 15 foot of string, right? Between the 2 forks. Okay,
Yep.
you have the zero break line. Let's
Yep.
say you're 15 feet away. You put the fork in the ground about 2 feet behind your ball, let's say. So you're going to only be 13 feet away because you only have 15 feet of string. So now you would take the other fork and move it far enough up the hill, putting underneath the string until you make the putt, or you know that you're pretty close to having the right amount of borrow, right? And that would determine how much the ball breaks for you. So if you were 13 feet, let's say we're putting from 13 feet because we have 15-foot string. We have to go a couple feet in front of the fork so you have a backstroke, right? So you would position the other fork up the hill. Let's say if you're putting just on the side of the hill, 13 inches, let's say, and you putt. And if it goes in the hole, you got it. If it's not, if it's not going in the hole and you need to put it more or less, that's where you're going to have your aim point. So anywhere you would go, if you like, what do you call it? You walk like a radius, like you walk around in a circle, the same distance equal distance from where you are, you're theoretically putting at that same fork. So you're putting, so that other fork is the aim point. Now,
no matter
that
what,
will change.
but you're
no matter
trying
what,
to put that in a place that the straight putt to the second fork from the, in couple inches enough to make a backswing from the first fork, you're putting at the second fork, but you move the fork so that straight putt, if it was level, goes toward that zero line.
Yeah. So it's when it loses speed or at any point, it's going to break. And so that helps you determine where the zero is. So that's the easiest way to do it without any of the calculation. But funny enough, if you do, put the digital level on that zero break line, you're going to see that it's going to match pretty well. I mean, it's not going to be perfect because there's no such thing as exactly 2 unless you just sat there and just plot it out. But it's going to be maybe 2.5. If it's 2.5, it's going to be a little higher. If it's 1.8, it'll be a little bit lower. And it also depends on how you hit it. But so this is a way that, I'm not an Aimpoint certified instructor, but like, let's say if you did do that.
Was there ever a vector putting certification of any kind?
I think there was, but they ran into some problems, let's just say. So that's the story.
There was a lawsuit, right? There was a lawsuit between Vector and Aimpoint. No,
or vice versa, or vice versa.
The other way around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know enough about it to talk about it with any kind of certainty.
Neither. I just know it existed, right? So it's pretty funny.
It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny for the people on the wrong side of that argument. But both can work, and of course, anybody that has their own green reading system is going to find fault in the other one. But they're pretty near. And then like once you do enough of this, it takes a while, but you get better at any of them. Like I think Bryson still uses Vector. If you look on tour, the majority of the guys out there, especially Kenyan trained guys, they use Aimpoint and they do it well. Jake does Aimpoint. So I don't think that there's any one that's better than another. Personally, I'm old enough where I just hit enough putts where I can just look at the line and just keep drawing a line until it goes in. Like Nicklaus did that. He wasn't putting his fingers up. Tiger wasn't putting his fingers up. So you can get to that point.
So I don't know if you got to see the Brian Manzella show, the very fancy name Brian Manzella show on YouTube, episode 2 or 3. I tried to recreate a putt that David Toms had in the 2001, might have been Freeport McMoran, whoever the sponsor was then, New Orleans Open. As far as I'm concerned, the New Orleans PGA Tour event. And I found that I was lucky the day we shot. I could at least putt in the same direction. I was a little further over the green. It was basically the same putt. It was about a 35-footer, maybe a little bit longer, and it broke like 5 or 6 feet. Decent amount. And the whole story was Scotty Nizer walked up there to tell David he's got Mickelson behind him. The hole's one of the hardest holes on tour back then. The course played easy that year. I think David shot like 0 on the last 2 rounds, like 127 or something the last 2 rounds. But the point is, Mickelson, if David 2 putts, Mickelson has to make birdie just to get in the playoff, and it's probably not going to happen. It's a really hard hole. And Scotty was about to tell David, why don't we mosey this one down there, like close to the hole, lag it. And David, like everybody's going crazy because it would have been his first win in Louisiana and LSU, Tigers. I didn't know what the hell was going on TV. Why are they cheering for Tiger Woods? He's not here this week. It was hilarious. I'm watching on TV in Louisville. And the place is going ape, S-H-I-T, right? And David, being David, this is why David's, going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. He before Scotty gets out, why don't we mosey it down there? He goes, what do you think these people do if I make this? I can tell you. He made it, and they went absolutely. It was at least in the top 5 longest cheers on a golf course on TV in my lifetime. Because it was like 5 minutes of just pandemonium, like everybody just won the lottery or something. It was ridiculous. The point is, to this whole recreating that story for you, I don't know if you knew it, I did the way I always read those kind of putts was I found the straight in downhill putt, right? And then I said, okay, that's like the straight shot on the interstate. That's just the interstate. And you know how you enter the interstate, right? So we entered from the left side because it was a right to left breaker. And I would always say, okay, where do I want, knowing the putt's going to break on the way, it's a long putt. It's going to break on the way to this line, this fall line. I got to play that break, A. And 2, where do I want it to enter the interstate so that it can just go straight down into the hole and go into the, the hole on the clock a certain way. Is that asinine or is that like a halfway decent way to do it?
I think it's halfway decent, but I think, when if you get a big enough break, it's going to be breaking the whole way. Maybe at the very end it won't, but if you were going to track the last 5 feet of a putt like that, it's probably not going straight. It's still curving.
It's still curving.
It's still curving, yeah.
So
but it's not a bad way to think about it, because at least you're going to probably play it high enough to be able to do that. So,
and my feeling always, the reason it helped me personally was, if you're thinking about entering into this straight, basically it's like taking the fall line forks, or, there's tools for that, folks, you can buy on Amazon. And 15 feet away, I put a tee like 15 foot up the hill. And realizing it's probably going to break a little bit on the fall line, maybe not too much, but if you have to hit it hard enough to get on the interstate, and if you hit it too hard, you go through the interstate in the trees and hit the fence on the other side. So it was good for me for speed, and I almost made the second one in the taping. It was really, the putt that David made was kind of ridiculous that he even thought he could make it. But that's the difference between champions and schmoes like you and me that really could play golf, but just couldn't play that good under the heat. But why do you think Aimpoint has not become more used at the regular golfer level, when basic like Aimpoint Express is pretty easy? You walk up there, you do your feet, You go, okay, it's 4%. You know, it's a big breaking putt. You hold your 4 fingers up and you go. I mean, you can do it faster than you can just read a putt. So why do you think it's just the way it looks? It's got a negative connotation. People don't want to learn anything like golf swing stuff. They don't want to learn anything either. I'm not going to change my grip. Why do you think it hasn't taken over? Because obviously it's taken over on tour.
I think it takes a lot of work. So the people that give up on it, they try it and they don't really give it enough time. And they get frustrated and they go, I'm just not going to do this. But it'd be like, let's say if you wanted to be able to sing the highest note that you can sing on a scale and be able to get it without straining, you're going to have to do a lot of work, breath work and learning how to relax your throat and all these different things to be able to do that, and if you can't stomach the work that you need to do to be able to do a difficult thing, then sometimes you give up. So the people that come to me sometimes that have been with other coaches that insisted they used Aimpoint and they didn't want to do it, and it was like a sticking point. They came to me and they said, I want to do Aimpoint. And I'm like, well, let's suspend it for a while, but don't think that it's not going to help you someday. But right now, if you figure that that's just a little bit more than you want to do, okay, you're all right with it. But the professionals, it's their job to make putts, to make that big money that's out there, right? So they're willing to do the work. So you look at Justin Rose or Matthew Fitzpatrick or any of those guys that Kenyon tutors, Max Homa, excuse me. They all do it. They all do it, and they're successful at it. And like I said, Jake does it, and he's really good at it. So it's just like anything else. You just have to work at it. And some people just give up because it's it's not easy to be good at.
So what would you tell the folks listening if they're one of those people? I don't want to spend $200 for a vector putting thing. I don't want to do the math. I don't like the way Aimpoint looks. I'm never doing it. But I'm a bad green reader. And you're a putting expert, Mr. Ortega. What would you tell them to do to work on their ability to read greens the old-fashioned way, let's say?
I've had a little bit of this recently. I get it a lot. But I still recommend that they get a digital level so that they can find a zero break putt. So just start with that. And then go divergent from the zero and just keep hitting putts just a little bit higher until you make it, right? Then in your mind, just figure you're putting toward wherever that spot is, like the aim point. You don't have to use that term. And you just kind of go around and just point at that same spot. With even before you do like an A to B, like you put the level between your ball and the hole and do the finger thing. You don't have to do that if you don't want to do that right now. Just find the zero, go off the zero. The farther off the zero you go, the more it breaks. And then what I have them do, if they don't buy one of my groove boards, which I usually recommend that they do, but they can just use an aiming stick, like an alignment stick, and put it on the high side and put the ball on the low side and just keep moving the stick until they hit it where it goes in the hole, and step behind and then go to the other side and see where they're actually aiming. And then just in a way, you're just kind of taking a photo with your mind. You're going, okay, that's what it looks like. Okay, and then you just go on. So you just keep doing that over and over. And eventually you're going to become like pretty in tune with like the about spot, we'll call it, the ish spot. And you just like, you look at a putt and you go, oh, it's about there. And you hit the putt. And I pretty much think that that's what happens with people that are really good at green reading, using their internal GPS, let's call it.
Yeah.
They just do enough of that, and they're in tune with where they're really aiming. So I don't think there are very many people that are good that aim poorly and just luck out and find the line. I think they aim well, they know where to aim, and they just work it out. So it can be done. And like I said, I didn't see Wyndham Clark ever doing his fingers, but he may have done Aimpoint at some time or another. He may have done something similar to what I just explained. So I think you can arrive at being a decent green reader without the green reading systems. But if you do one of those systems, I think they're good. But it just takes work. And some people just don't want to do work, especially with putting, because, with putting, sometimes when people fail at it, let's just say, it's almost embarrassing. So they're just like, they want to stomach it. But, if they can push past that and become good putters, then all of a sudden they love putting. It's just like changes their whole world. So I've had some people come to me, not very good putters, didn't have a good attitude about putting. They became good putters, and all of a sudden they just love putting. So, putting is fun in general, because it's just
means something. It actually means something on this show.
Yeah, and like if you go to Costa Mesa in the afternoon, we'll have
Country club, Costa Mesa Country Club.
it's actually a public, little bit of an embellishment. But if you come in the afternoon,
Well, the Rock Hill Golf and Country Club is public.
yeah,
Michael
so
Jacobs' place. Yeah.
there will be a minimum of 6 people on either green, and there's sometimes as many as 10. And I have a couple guys that they come every night, and they hit putts all the way across the green. I don't know what their thing is, but they just like these cross country putts.
I love cross country putting. I love long putting.
They just love it. I forgot to bring this one of the guys. Like the other night, I was on fire. I was just making everything. I was putting a kid for money. It was actually pretend money because I wasn't going to make him pay.
Sure.
But I was just killing it. He's going, my God, do you ever miss? And I'm like, well, hopefully not tonight. I'm working this kid over. So a couple kids from China and from Hong Kong, they came and, we battled. And it was one of my more glorious days recently. I got my butt kicked by two little girls.
So when you play people for money, I'm thinking of Caddyshack. I don't play people for money.
People for money?
Yeah. What's the game?
We do different ones, but recently we've been stuck on this one. It's great. We call it 1-2, 2-4, 3-6, and 4-8. So what that means is if you one putt, you get $2. If you 3-putt, you're penalized $1. And then at some point you ramp it up to 2-4, and then you go 3-6 or 6-3.
Sure.
And then you go 4-8, and sometimes we even go 16-8. And that's at the end when we know there's only a couple putts that we're going to do. And I don't usually putt short putts on those. For the 2-1 or the 4-2s, when I have the tee, we alternate who tees off first. I'll do those ones that are like inside 8 feet. So if I make it, I put pressure on them. If I don't make it, they've seen the line and they make it, and they give me the business. So the 2 little girls that beat me out of $40 like 2 weeks ago, that's what happened. And oh man, God, I didn't hear the end of it. I told them, little girls, bring your money next time. I'm not going to be nice.
So I know I probably asked you this before, but have you ever played the putting game 11?
We play 21. Is that the one where you get a certain amount of points for make and a certain amount of points for being close?
Yeah, you get 3 points for in 11. You get 3 points for make, which means that me and John are putting on the Pebble Beach practice putting green around the clock, right? And I make it. I get 3 points. John putts second because we flip the coin. He makes it. He gets 3 points. The next hole, I lag it up there to an inch. John lags it inside of my 1-inch putt. He gets 1 point. I get nothing. So only 1 point. Only one person can get the 1 point, but both people can get the 3 points. Okay. Now what you're trying to do is get 11 on the number. And the whole game winds up being that, okay, if you got 8 points and I've got 7 points, all you got to do, and you got the tee, you make it, it's over. First person to 11. But of course, if you miss it, you got to watch. But what happens if you miss it? Because let's just say you barely miss it and you were lagging it and you got 2 feet. I'm just going to putt the putt backwards and give you the 9 points. Now, if you make it, you can't go over. So if you make a ace on 9 or 10, you go over 11, you go back to 0. And it's just a lot of strategy. And that's the game that I played the most coming up because that's what they played at City Park when we had 81 holes and there was people everywhere. The old guys did it. The young guys who were really good players and really good putters did it. And I got good enough at it where I don't remember David Thomas ever. I mean, he might have beaten me a game, but if we played 3 or 4 games or whatever, he would never. I fought him to a draw. Now, it'd be very interesting when people listen to that. The two things I would do against David is we would play 11 every now and then. We probably played 30 games of 11 ever. And then the other thing, like early in this career, when I was like earlier and closer to my original Ben Doyle days, I would take a 3-iron out, his 3-iron, and I would like Ben Doyle chip. Ben didn't want you choking up. So I got a 3-iron. I'm standing pretty far from the ball, but I got my little narrow stance open. And I would chip with the 3-iron against David, and we would putt one time around the clock, like at Doral or Memphis, where I remember doing it. And he'd start me one up. So we play 4 holes. I'm one up already, and I'm putting with a 3-iron, and it was a draw. And when I used to tell people that on the internet, they would say, you're the biggest liar of all time because you can't putt as good as David Thompson. No shit. But this is practice putting green putting. And what people need to understand about that's 2 different sports. That's like putt golf and PGA Tour golf, which leads us to fun with Grok, I would say. I asked Grok, hey, Grok, can you do me a favor here for the show? Can you give me your 25 best putters, not the thing you putt with, but the
putties,
the putties of all time. So we'll start from the top here and we'll see what you think and what I think. And it'll be a nice segment here on the show. Okay, top 25 putters. Tiger Woods. It says the gold standard for clutch putting under the brightest lights, made seemingly every must-make putt in the majors for 2 decades. And Faxon, because Faxon knows everything. I like Brad just fine. Named him number 1. What do you think about Tiger being the best putter of all time?
If you're going clutch putts, I'd have to maybe next out Nicklaus a little bit, but Nicklaus was pretty good making putts when it mattered too. So let's
clutch
go
putting. But if we're talking about putting, we're not just talking about clutch putting. Your tournament starts on Thursday, right?
Yeah, okay. I'll give him that. I'm not going to argue that. I think that would be a hard argument to win, but you might, if you're like a Ben Crenshaw fan or somebody that didn't hit the ball very well but was successful, you go, well, if it hadn't been for their putter, they wouldn't be who they are. So, if you were going to throw somebody in front of Tiger, it would have to be one of those guys. If you get somebody's yeah.
So anyway,
we'll go with that.
I want to give you the next. I'll give you the next 3 because then because you're talking about some of them right now. So old Grok has Nicklaus second, same thing, sinking putts in the biggest moments. Crenshaw for stroke, feel, and ability to hold 25 footers with massive breaks, and Bobby Locke. And they have Faxon 5, which no chance. But anyway, go ahead. What do you think of that, kind of initial list?
I'll go with Ben Crenshaw. I didn't see Bobby Locke, but I researched a little bit, if you want to call it that, on YouTube, and I didn't see him make a whole lot of putts. So to me, I'm not going to go with Bobby Locke. But I've heard he was really good, but I never saw it. But I think you got to go Billy Casper. Billy Casper, pretty damn good. I think he holds, I don't know if he holds the record for the fewest number of putts in something or another, like a U.S. Open.
In the U.S. Open, yes. And just so you know how silly these people are here, whoever's programming Grok, no Billy Casper. So 3 majors, right? And I know at the end he was playing in the Masters way past his time because he felt like, he earned it. What the heck? They told him he had a lifetime exemption and he was going to push it. So
plus the dinners were good. He's going to show up.
Yeah, he's going to show up for the dinner, and he's going to but let me say this. I saw him putt in person, and it was good. I just didn't think it was – I think he's got to be up there, definitely in the top 20. I don't know why this left it off because there's plenty of information on the internet that he was one of the best putters of all time. But I think the deal with Locke, Crenshaw, I think, is more style. He's the first person that looked like he was putting the way he putted. And then I think Mickelson pretty much copied him and overdid some of the Crenshaw moves. But, I mean, he was a nice-looking guy when he was younger. I mean, he's okay-looking guy now. I'm not any judge of men's looks. But you got me. He was an idol. He was a star on the tour early on. And he's got this, little 8802 putter. Was it an 8802 that was the little Ben, gentle Ben putter, or was it a design by? Do you know that? I mean, it's the same putter, but
8802 for sure. I actually held it.
I have video right in that cabinet of him putting, and he was just goofing around, right, with a long putter, an anchored long putter in 1992 at Memphis. It's pretty funny. And he saw that on video and he thought it was funny because back then, video cameras were this big. It wasn't like I was going to pull my phone up and look like I was looking at it. But okay, first of all, I think there was a period of time where Tiger was probably the best putter in golf, period. Like he made more 20-footers and he just probably strokes gained putting. You probably can look that up. I don't think Nicklaus was ever that guy. I think what Nicklaus was able to do is, and he went on streaks like anybody that obviously, 37 firsts and seconds in professional majors, right? But he was the guy, just like Tiger, that made the 5, 6, 7-footer that he had to make on the last hole with the whole world watching. I don't think he made that many putts during the week. And I don't really think Crenshaw kind of did either. To me, if you're picking a putter list, and I mean, you got to weigh majors and fame and all that, don't you have to pick the people that, like you said, might have not even been tour players? If they couldn't putt real good, I'll give you one that's on this list, I think. Oh, Billy Casper 7. Very sorry. Sorry, Grok. Elon, please don't dock my pay. Jerry,
Do you have more?
Let me read the whole list, okay?
Go
Then I'll hear what you say. Okay, so Woods, Nicklaus, Crenshaw, Bobby Locke, Faxon, Tom Watson, Casper, Seve, Lauren Roberts was the person I was going to give you. Definitely not a tour player if he's not either a top putter, 1, 2, 3, definitely top 10 his whole career. Stricker wouldn't have been as good if he wouldn't have been as good a putter. Spieth, in his putt-making prime, made more 25-footers down the stretch of anybody I've ever seen. Hale Irwin, Mickelson, no chance he's in the top 20. Player, Olathabal, absolutely. Raymond Floyd, Justin Leonard, Greg Norman, Pavin, David Wayne Toms, Payne Stewart, Dave Stockton, Paul Runyon, Jerry Barber, and Luke Donald. With honorable mentions, Bobby Jones, Isaiah Aoki, definitely in my top 20. Goosen, when he putted good, it was ridiculous. Langer, Palmer in his peak. Sorenstam, NB Park. Okay. You got me. If somebody is on that list, like there's a couple of them that I don't even think they ever won a tournament or stayed on the tour for any length of time unless they were just a phenomenal putter. That's got to really weigh pretty heavy as who's the best putters of all time, no?
If you're just going putting only, for sure, like you're talking about 72 holes or their career, yeah. So I don't know how much whoever Grok depended on for compiling that list, whether they knew about guys like, let's say, Morris Hatalsky or
Morris Hatalsky, absolutely.
Yeah,
Unbelievably best putter on tour at some point, and hey Morris, if you're listening to this, you were okay ball striker, but you were a really good putter.
Alan Tapie was a ridiculous putter. And not that he hit the ball poorly, but tour standards, he was average at best. So I've met Alan. He's a good guy. Played golf with him. I gave him some money. I didn't give it willingly, but he played pretty good, right? Still, but there's certain guys like that. Now that I've been put on the spot, I can't think of them all. I've had
Don
some time
Pooley,
to research.
JC.
There you go.
You know why those names came up together? What is similar about the putting strokes of Don Pooley and Jay Siegel?
Trying to remember. Don Pooley. Was he kind of a little bit poppy? No?
Both of them picked the putter up to the ball and then made a stroke. There's somebody doing that now, right? I don't know who.
You mean raise the club up in the air, just kind of like Nicklaus did with his hitting? Yeah.
Yes. What most people don't understand is if you take a normal putter, what's more normal than a ping answer and all the 9 million copies, including the
Dalehead.
John Byram's, right?
Ours was one of the first ones, though. We were original copiers.
Original copiers and some of the best, okay? I didn't know that Spieth putted with a David Mills, TP Mills putter. I never knew that.
I think he might still be.
I've got a David Mills, TP Mills putter over there. I think I'll maybe put it in one of the shows that I had at my hand. You know, he said, I'm going to make your putter, you know, because he felt like I was helping him. And, you know, talking to David and some other guys. And I said, you know, because I've always thought, you know, they did a great job. And I should have got a TPM1, right, style, like David putted with. But I said, oh, I want an answer. So he made me a 3-degree flat answer, put B-mans on it and all that stuff. Great putter. I had no idea that that's very similar to the putter that Spieth uses. But if you took that putter, do you know off the top of your putter designer head what the height of the face of an answer Scottsdale answer putter is?
1 inch.
1 inch. A golf ball is 1.68, correct?
Yeah, 1.68 ain't the weight. That's how you remember it. Yeah, 1.68.
1.62 is the weight, right?
Yeah. So but the way you differentiate them, you go 1.68 ain't the weight.
There you go. Okay. So you've got a putter that's an inch high. You got a ball that's 1.68 inches high. So if the middle of the putter is not lined up with the equator of the ball, you have to have the putter raise up some kind of way to. Is that about where you want to hit a putt? The middle of the ball and the middle of the putter? It seems logical. I've always taught it, but
give or take, or maybe just a little bit above that. But wherever it is, if it's consistent, pretty good, other than if you hit it off the bottom. If you hit it too far on the bottom or too far up the top, not good. But like on the Sam Putt Lab, they have like this sweet spot thing, you know, right to left and up and down the vertical. And 15 millimeters is right in the middle of that little gray area of, you know, where all the tour players over the years have been measured. And, you know, they come up with these averages, like this is pretty good, this is pretty good, and in the middle might be the best. But, you know, talking to Biv was about a 15 millimeter guy, and that's pretty close to the center of the putter, but it might be fractionally above it for just a little bit. So the higher you hit it up.
So if you had the putter just brushing the grass, you're going to hit it really high up the face, correct?
Yes.
So that's what the deal was. Those two guys, I think I measured it one time, is like you put 4 dimes on top of each other. That's about how high the putter needed to be. They just lifted it up. They just lifted the putter up in the air and they putted from there. And they were both unbelievable putters. I think the thing about Locke, first of all, he played golf very different than most people. He hit a pronounced right to left tee shot and all other shots. So he was always set up on all his shots to play this big hook, and he hooked it every time. He might have hit 2 fades a year because he was behind a tree or something. And he looked like that's what he was doing with his putts. Like everybody thought he hooked his putts. I've seen his stroke. I don't think he hooked his putts at all, but it doesn't matter. I've seen people try to cut their putts, but I've never seen people that really looked like they were actually hooking their putts, although Tiger used to say he felt like he was. I think the thing about Locke, you know, hitting a high draw, Tiger. The thing about Locke is I think he made lots and lots and lots and lots of long putts, sort of in the Jordan Spieth in his, I hate to say in his prime, but right now in his prime. Faxon was a guy who made a bunch of putts when he was hot, right? Isn't that the main thing with Faxon? He got very hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if there was a whole lot of he had to make a 10-footer and then he made it. I don't know about that, but I know that on a good week, he could shoot a really low number if he was hitting it halfway decent. So he was.
How many tournaments did he win?
What? Say again?
Did he win? How many tournaments did he win?
10, maybe 10.
Ask Mr. Grok.
Brad Faxon won 8 times on the PGA Tour.
Got me by 1. I was close. 7.
2 times on the Champions Tour. 2 times on the Champions Tour.
So were there 7?
Yeah. So okay, go ahead.
Was 7? I mean 8 total between the 2
PGA
tours.
PGA Tour wins.
So and two of which were on the Champions Tour.
No, separately.
Okay, so we had 10 between the 2.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty good.
Watson. So when there were 5 years in a row, I think he was Player of the Year or something like that. Maybe ranked number 1 in the world. It was 5 years in a row. He loved New Orleans. He won at least once. He maybe won twice here. I watched him play in '82 with my idol, Johnny Miller, who at that point was a terrible putter. Okay. at some point he was a good putter when Andy Martinez could squat behind him, and he got hot in 70 late. I don't think he did that in the U.S. Open. So this was like a 74 thing. Andy started doing that, the squatting behind him while he putted. And what Miller said, I never asked him personally, even though I got to talk to him a couple times, was that he wasn't there to tell him, aim a little left, aim a little right. He was there to just, after Miller hit the putt and they were walking to the next hole, he went, you pulled it. Right? That's what he was supposedly there for. But Watson played with Miller. I watched them play the first 36 holes together, watched every shot they both hit. And basically it was the typical thing of the good putter, bad ball striker, crooked ball striker, not bad ball striker. He always was a good ball hitter. But he would hit his tee shot in the rough and then hook a 4-iron on the green on some 460-yard hole 30 feet away. Miller would hit driver 6-iron 3 feet. Watson would make the 35-footer for birdie, and Miller would miss the 4-footer for par. And it went on like this all day long, and Miller just rolling his eyes. And then, now that's 1982. Now, just to show you golf and just to show you putting and just to show you how smart Big Don was when he said, hey, babes, nobody owns this game. We're at Grand Cypress in Florida, and Tom Bartlett's elbowing me because there's this guy I'm watching, but I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to do. But he just kept putting this 10-footer that broke about 2 feet, maybe a foot and a half. And he just couldn't make one out of like 30. It was Watson. It was, of all people in the world, it was Tom Watson. That's 19, maybe 88 or 9. So he went from, he's definitely the best putter in tournament golf in 1982 to already lost some of his putting ability in 88. And, I think he kind of struggled with it the rest of his career. Do you ever get to see Watson putt when he was a good putter?
I did, but the week that I watched him, I was in high school or just out of high school, so that was probably like late 70s, and I think that was the year that Doug Toole won. He putted all right, but he didn't putt good enough to win the tournament, but didn't show any signs of being like jittery or like not confident. He looked like he still believed that he was going to make putts. So yeah, I did see him, but I didn't like see a bunch of it, but I witnessed him hitting putts and looked good. I think
he banged in the 3-4 footers, man. He banged them in.
He was very, very aggressive putter. But
so we already talked about Casper. What do you think about Seve as a putter? See, he doesn't make any list in my head of putting, but I saw him play.
They're probably giving him that because he made some pretty big putts, like 17 at St. Andrews.
Yeah, no doubt.
In what did he win? 2 Masters? 2? Yeah.
Yep.
So you can't be a bad putter, winning the Masters. So I think just based on that, and did he win a PGA? I think he may have won a PGA. I think the only one he didn't win was the U.S. Open, but maybe he was just the
I think he won 2 different kinds of majors.
Okay, well, we can look that up later. We've been looking up a lot of stuff, but he was good. I wouldn't say that he was bad, but I don't know that he was great. But
he putted with the plop for a while, didn't he?
He did, and then he also used a tad more. He used a tad more, like a TPM2, which is kind of like a TP Mills, basically. But that one looked pretty good. Just the putter. I love Tadmore putters. They look really good. The handmaids, they were really nice.
Absolutely.
Just like TP Mills. They're beautiful putters.
Beautiful putters. He's making mostly the hickory now, right? Making hickory clubs.
Yeah. So all the big bucks we're going to be making, some of it's going to go.
Seve Ballesteros won 5 majors, 3 British Opens. I'm stopping calling it the Open. The hell with that. British Opens and 2 Masters.
Okay. Well, 5's good. And I thought he had
we already talked about Lauren Roberts.
Stricker. Yeah. Good. He was just solid, still is, super upright putter, no risk. So both he and Lauren Roberts, if you're looking for no risk guys, there they are. 0. Now, if you look at,
we've already talked about Hale Irwin. I have no recollection of Hale Irwin being a phenomenal putter, but he won 3 U.S. Opens, and they're traditionally the slickest greens of the year on the PGA Tour. he had to be a better putter than I gave him credit for. You
For
have
sure.
any recollection of his putting stroke?
Vaguely, but but what I did hear from the TaylorMade guys was he actually, they have Quintec down there, and they were one of the first people to have it. They said, and who knows if his stroke was the same when he was tested on that as it was when he won those tournaments, the U.S. Opens, that is. But they said that he had backspin off the hit, a little bit of backspin out of the hit.
Yep.
So maybe, just maybe, a little backspin with a little bit less impact ratio, like how fast the ball would go. Maybe he was hitting little chippy cut putts of the U.S. Open. I don't know, but can't be bad. I just remember when he beat Mike Donald. He did that around the green, kind of high-fived everybody.
Yep.
So here's a Mike Donald story for you real quick. So when he was a rookie, I caddied for him at Los Coyotes Country Club. That was the same year that Hal Sutton was a rookie. He showed up, and so did Tommy Armour III, right? So Mike Donald's playing with Tommy Armour III, and the guy that I used to work for named Tom Schopner. So on the third hole at Los Coyotes, nobody reached that green in two. It was like 560 yards, back Woodward's a lot of balls. Tommy Armour takes out a Tommy Armour driver, hits it over the corner. He's got maybe 250, 260 yards to the hole. I'm like, oh my God, this guy might get to the green. And he hit it on the very front of the green, right? And the pin was on the very back. So he hits his ping answer putter, and this thing is just rocket shipping across the green. It hits the back of the hole, jumps up in the air, and goes in. And I jumped up in the air like I had won a big tournament, right? I was like, yeah. And Mike Donald goes, what the hell are you doing? You're rooting for somebody else, not me. I'm like, oh, well, guy made an eagle. It's great. So then later in that tournament, Mike on a par 3, I think it was hole number 12. It was about 200 yards, and he had his ball didn't go as far back then. So he was either going to hit like a 3 or a 4 iron. And I said, why don't you hit a 3 iron, just cut it a little bit, take some of the distance off. So he hits it, and it lands on the green and runs just a little bit over the back, but it was on the fringe. So he had maybe a 15-footer. So 3 or 4 iron, recommend the 3, hit a little bit, kind of feather fade, has a 15-footer. Then he lips out for the 15-footer, and he looks at me and he goes, don't ever club me again. Like, I thought that was a pretty good club. Like, so he was just like brutal to me. It was rude. And at the end, I think I was supposed to get like $120, and he was a journeyman guy. So he goes, how about I give you $90 and all these titleists? I'm like, I'm in. They got a bunch of tour player titleists that sold, right? So later,
Absolutely.
Later, Mark McCumber introduced me to him at what's now the Waste Management.
Right.
And he goes, hey, Mike, come over here. I want to meet you some. It's John Ortega, this, that, and the other. I go, yeah, Mike, I've met you before. He goes, oh, where? I said, I caddied for you at Los Coyotes. He goes, was I like brutal to you? Like, was I rude? I'm like, yeah. He goes, then you did. You caddied for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
And just, for the last little piece of this, list, here's my David Thomas putting story. So when he came out of college, first tour school, goes through the first stage, no problem. Goes through the second stage, no problem. Now we're at the finals. I'm caddying and teaching, right? Which when we first did it, the first few times we did it, like I remember Kelly Gibson, who played the tour for 10 years from New Orleans, thinking that ought to be illegal. Because if he started hitting it funny, I could tell him something. It was, and if I saw something in his putting stroke, I'd fudge the reads. When he found out, boy, he was mad. But anyway, long story short, here's the deal. The first round of the finals of the tour school, he hit it somewhere between 20 feet and 40 feet, 18 feet and 36 feet. Okay. They're trying to be a little bit less exaggerated. 18 feet and 36 feet, the first 6 holes. Just down the middle of the fairway, some part of the fairway. Decent iron shot. Great iron player, just hitting it on the green, not, he made all 6. So we were playing with a guy who passed away from Canada who was about 40 years old. He had been on and off the PGA Tour, played the Canadian Tour. And, the third one goes in, it's like, whoa, that's 3 in a row, right? The fourth one goes in, he's looking at me like, what is this? The fifth one goes in, he's thinking this is sorcery or something like that. I swear to you, the look on his face when the sixth one went in was, I'm leaving. I know I'm in the final tour school, but I can't watch this anymore. Is this guy going to go? And he shot 30 on the front nine. He shot 600 on the front nine, and he shot 40 or 39 on the back nine. And he long story short, he missed by one, being in fourth place after 4 rounds. That's the kind of putter David Toms was. David Toms was the kind of putter that not only made a bunch of short putts and made that pressure putt to win the PGA and all that stuff. If he was on, it was going in, or he thought it was supposed to go in a way that I don't think too many other people on this list, just as far as street putters go, he was unbelievable in his prime. And he's still a good putter, and he putts claw now. But it's one of those things where, when you're going through a list like we tried to do today for you folks, and you're talking about great putters, I think the great putters are putters that not just were the best pressure putters from inside of 10 feet or whatever, but the guys like Lauren Roberts, and Brad Faxon, and obviously their careers, because of their putting, and then David to some extent, but David was a hell of a ball striker now. Just so you know, you can go look at the stats. Their careers were completely elevated because of their putting, when there's people that, like Johnny Miller, that their career was not elevated because they could putt good. So anything to add to the list of great putters here as we have the nicest theme song in the world played behind us?
Well, you might as well keep an eye on the guys that are good right now, because I think they're worth watching. Sam Burns, Jake Knapp, number 2 in putting right now. There are a bunch of them. So just Danny McCarthy. You might as well enjoy Jason Day while he's out there. So
Wyndham Clark ain't bad, baby, with that white thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right.
The best theme song in golf.
Michael Jacobs approved. Can you believe that?
Jacobs approved. Good job, Johnny. See you soon.
Okay. Adios. Putting is fun.
Ding.